Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep into what is really the engine room of India's entire digital economy. We're talking about Maharashtra, and specifically, we're looking at how the state isn't just, passively riding the wave of global tech shifts. It is aggressively steering its own future. Our mission today is to really get under the hood of the state's massive bet on high-value capability centers and deep technology, especially as all these initiatives really started to solidify and move into full implementation around October of 2025.
Exactly. And for you, the learner, this is really the shortcut to understanding the strategic blueprint behind one of the fastest growing tech hubs in the world. We're not just looking at simple growth figures here. What we're analyzing is a very calculated pivot towards high-skilled global leadership.
And the sources we're using are pretty comprehensive, right? This isn't just based on headlines.
Not at all. We've gone much deeper. Our stack today synthesizes the detailed plans laid out in the new IT and ITES policy of Maharashtra State 2023. And what is probably most crucial, the very ambitious GCC policy 2025.
So we're kind of marrying the vision, what they say they want to achieve, with the underlying reality, which, includes things like the Economic Survey of Maharashtra for 2024-25, showing the actual financial muscle they have.
Right. And we're also tracking the massive national investment that's flowing in through new R&D reports, and even the granular administrative tweaks that keep the whole engine running smoothly, like some specific compliance adjustments that happened right in October 2025.
Okay, so our mission for this deep dive is to map out precisely how Maharashtra is using this combination of strategic policy, unprecedented R&D investment, and huge talent development efforts. All to not just maintain its lead, but to really accelerate into these high-value global capability center operations and foundational R&D.
It's about building a digital economy that isn't just large, It's about making it deeply complex and, frankly, globally critical.
So before we get into the policies that are designed to build that future, we have to acknowledge the foundation they're building on. I mean, Maharashtra is already India's undisputed economic powerhouse. What are the latest numbers telling us about that foundation?
The figures are pretty staggering.
Mm-hmm.
And they really justify the confidence we're seeing behind these massive policy shifts. The Advanced Estimates project that Maharashtra's real gross state domestic product, the GSDP, is set to grow at a really robust 7.3% for the 2024-25 fiscal year.
And that's ahead of the national average, right?
Substantially ahead.
Mm-hmm.
The Indian economy as a whole is projected at around 6.5%. So this isn't just a marginal outperformance. It's really leading the charge.
And if we dig into the components of that GSDP growth, I'm guessing it's the services sector that's the real engine room here.
Absolutely. The services sector, which is where IT and ITES live, is projected to grow even faster. We're looking at about 7.8% for the same period. And when you have that kind of sustained high-speed growth in the very sector you're trying to pivot, your policy changes become powerful accelerators. You're not just trying to catch up.
It's not just the growth, though. It's the depth of the financial system in the state. The sources really highlight Maharashtra's sheer dominance in capital concentration.
They do. As of September 2024, the state accounts for almost 23%, 22.9% to be exact, of the country's aggregate bank deposits. And if you look at the other side, the lending side, they command 28% of the gross credit nationwide.
Wow. So nearly a third of all credit in India is flowing through Maharashtra.
Exactly. And that financial dominance is why the state can feel so confident betting on these high-risk, high-reward R&D initiatives. They have the deep capital circulation needed to support that kind of complex, interconnected ecosystem. It's not just a service economy. It's the financial capital that underpins that service economy. It provides the liquidity and the stability.
Okay, so that economic momentum needed direction, which leads us straight to the strategic framework. The state has been operating under the umbrella of the new IT and ITES policy of Maharashtra State 2023. But if I'm reading this right, the main directive of that policy was simple. We can't just let Mumbai and Pune hog all the growth.
That's a perfect summary. The 2023 policy set the central goal of ensuring balanced, regionally balanced development of the IT sector across the entire state. And that really laid the essential groundwork for the next, more specialized policy, which is the key focus of our deep dive today, the GCC policy 2025.
And this is where the strategy really sharpens. It becomes laser-focused on global capability centers, or GCCs. India is already the global leader in this space, right? Hosting over 1,900 GCCs with almost 2 million professionals. But Maharashtra is looking at the next evolution of this model.
That distinction, the evolution, is absolutely crucial. For you, the learner, who might hear GCC and immediately think call center, we need to be very clear. GCCs are no longer just BPO or basic shared services. Not anymore.
Right. So what are they now?
Today, they are high-value R&D intensive centers where global corporations anchor their most critical functions. Think things like AI model development, high-end chip design, complex financial risk analysis. This shift from being a cost center to an innovation engine is exactly what the GCC Policy 2025 is designed to capture and accelerate.
And the goals they've set for this policy are, well, they're monumental. They aren't aiming for small incremental increases here.
Not at all. The GCC Policy 2025 aims to attract over 400 new GCCs, and more importantly, generate 400,000 skilled jobs by the financial year 2030.
400,000 skilled jobs. It's a huge number.
It is, and this is a target specifically for high-skill, white-collar R&D employment. The state understands that this kind of high-value employment drives up the average wage, it attracts top global talent, and, crucially, it embeds global intellectual property within the state's borders.
The sources we looked at emphasize that these GCCs are the critical enablers for global corporations. They drive digital transformation, they ensure business resilience. So if Maharashtra successfully captures this R&D volume, they solidify their status not just as a labor provider, but as a global intellectual property hub.
And to get there, the policy framework is incredibly comprehensive. It addresses four main pillars. First, competitive fiscal incentives, your tax breaks and subsidies. Second, developing cutting-edge infrastructure like power and connectivity. Third, talent pipeline development, which we'll spend a lot of time on. And fourth, radically improving the ease of doing business. But maybe the single most strategic and challenging element is the mandate for regional balance.
This is the part that interests me the most because it involves real, on-the-ground logistical hurdles. This policy is explicitly designed for decentralization, connecting directly back to that 2023 ITES policy. They're actively trying to pull investment away from the saturated metros.
Exactly. The policy specifically targets Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities for this massive expansion. And they are naming names. They list Nagpur, Nashik, and Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar. This is a geographical statement as much as it is an economic one. It recognizes that Pune and Mumbai are reaching saturation in terms of cost of living, infrastructure load, and talent density. A bottleneck is forming.
But that's a huge ask, isn't it? Convincing a global firm to move its high-security, high-value R&D operations away from the financial and administrative security of a Mumbai or a Pune. What are the sources saying about the mechanisms or specific incentives that make this decentralization financially viable for them?
That's the critical question. And the sources suggest the incentives are weighted very heavily toward three things: land, energy, and connectivity. For instance, the policy includes specific substantial subsidies for land acquisition and for power tariffs in those designated Tier 2 cities, subsidies that are simply not available in the Tier 1 metros. This creates a tangible financial lever, making the operating expenditure dramatically lower.
So it's a direct financial calculation for these companies.
It is. And on top of that, the state is promising accelerated approvals and expedited infrastructure development, specifically for GCCs willing to anchor in these three target cities. That reduces the time to market risk for the corporations.
So they're basically using financial engineering to offset the perception of risk. They're saying, we will make the fixed costs so much cheaper that you can afford to train the new workforce and build the necessary security infrastructure yourselves.
Precisely. And that leads us seamlessly into the next core pillar.
Yeah.
Talent, because all the policies and subsidies in the world are useless if you can't staff 400,000 highly skilled new jobs. If Maharashtra wants to deliver these deep tech GCCs, where is the operational engine room for talent development coming from?
Well, the focus is clearly on future-proofing the workforce, moving beyond basic computer literacy to specialized skills like AI, machine learning, and cybersecurity.
The depth of the state's intervention into the academic structure here is remarkable. We see a major, strategically placed partnership in Nanded. Swami Ramanand Tirth Marathwada University, or SRTMU, in partnership with a group called Skills Factory, is embedding what they call the Digital 101 framework across 400 affiliated colleges.
400 colleges. And why Nanded, and what exactly is Digital 101 in this context?
Nanded is a major regional education center in the Marathwada region. This connects directly back to that goal of regional balance. By anchoring this massive upskilling program there, they democratize access to future-ready skills outside the established centers of Pune and Mumbai.
Yeah.
And Digital 101 isn't just, basic coding. It focuses on foundational digital literacy essential for Industry 4.0 roles. That includes data analysis concepts, cloud basics, and the principles of machine learning applications.
The scale is what's truly impressive here. This one initiative alone is targeting the upskilling of 1.5 lakh students. That's 150,000 future professionals being put through a specialized curriculum that was developed in collaboration with industry. It really institutionalizes this idea that government policy has to be in lockstep with academic output.
And this approach isn't isolated. It reflects a national trend. Nationally, the Future Skills Prime platform is being pushed heavily. It's being showcased at technical institutions like NPTI, and is being adopted by major corporate players like IndiaMart for their own internal upskilling. The goal is clear. Continuous professional development is no longer optional. It's the strategic core of the Indian tech workforce.
Speaking of these large-scale systems that bridge the gap between education and employment, we have to talk about the launch of the Marathi Skill India Digital Hub, or SIDH. That debuted in Pune in January 2025. This sounds like the central nervous system for skill acquisition in the state.
It really is. The SIDH is this extensive digital marketplace that offers over 7,000 skill courses. But again, the focus is on depth. It's moving beyond general skills into highly technical, sought-after expertise. We're talking specialized training in Industry 4.0 methodologies, advanced artificial intelligence and machine learning modules, and even emerging fields like drone technology operation and its applications.
And the hub isn't just about getting certifications, right? It's designed explicitly to translate those skills directly into market opportunities. What kind of connective tissue does SIDH provide between the students completing those courses and actual employers?
That's the most impactful metric. SIDH is designed to link Maharashtra's youth with over 50,000 industry partners. But the real lever here is the promise of 5.5 lakh apprenticeship opportunities. This is where the rubber meets the road. Taking theoretical knowledge and applying it in a structured workplace environment, that's vital for these high-value GCC roles.
The value of that apprenticeship model is really underscored by a fascinating anecdote we saw in the source material. It came from discussions with a company called Intera IT. They emphasized that they view apprenticeships not as a source of temporary labor, but as the preferred entry route into the IT sector.
Yes, and the outcome they reported is truly surprising. Intera IT reported a stunning 100% conversion rate to full-time roles for their apprentices.
Wait, 100% conversion rate? That's exceptional. How is that even possible? What did they cite as the reason for that success? Was it some proprietary mentorship model, or were they just cherry-picking the absolute best candidates?
The source material suggests it was a combination of things. A very structured, mentor-led, hands-on learning program from day one. This was coupled with rigorous training and review systems. So this isn't about just putting bodies in seats. It's about deep integration into the corporate structure from the moment they walk in the door. The fact that a company is achieving this level of success really validates the state's massive investment in apprenticeship opportunities through platforms like SIDH. It proves the investment is leading directly to full-time, high-quality, specialized tech jobs, which is the whole point of the GCC strategy.
So beyond these hands-on training programs and digital hubs, the state is also making some fundamental structural investments in higher education to support this big R&D push. They aren't just training students, they're creating institutions that are geared toward commercialization.
Correct. They've established 6 new centers for technology development and technology transfer within 6 different state universities. And the mandate for these centers is crystal clear: to actively promote the commercialization of industrial research. This is a deliberate move to push knowledge creation out of purely academic papers and into the economic sphere, feeding the startup ecosystem.
And on top of that, capacity is expanding through brand new institutions as well.
It is. They've established 3 new cluster universities. There's the Dr. Homi Bhabha State University and the Hyderabad Sindh National Collegiate University, both in Mumbai, and the Dr. Karmveer Baral Patil University in Satara. These new institutions will serve as magnets for specialized knowledge, ensuring there's regional access to the advanced technical training needed for those 400,000 new GCC jobs.
It's really clear that Maharashtra is aligning its talent pipeline precisely with national strategic investment priorities, which leads us directly to the national support structure, specifically this brand new fund that's dedicated entirely to incentivizing deep tech innovation.
Right. And this national commitment is what makes Maharashtra's local policies feel so grounded and achievable. The sheer financial commitment behind the Research, Development, and Innovation Fund, or the RDI Fund, is huge.
It really changes the game, doesn't it?
It completely changes the game. This was proved by the Union Cabinet in July of 2025. The RDI scheme has a staggering total outlay of 1.0 lakh crore spread over 6 years. And for the immediate fiscal year FY 2025-26, there is 20,000 crores specifically allocated. This represents a monumental infusion of capital into the national innovation ecosystem. And given Maharashtra's established tech dominance, it will inevitably be a primary beneficiary.
That RDI figure is enormous, but how does the policy make sure that this massive national funding doesn't just bypass the local, smaller innovators in Maharashtra in favor of the established, deep-pocketed corporate players? And what is the money actually targeted at?
That's the key insight. This isn't just a general research grant. The RDI fund has very specific objectives designed to address a fundamental flaw in the innovation lifecycle, something often called the Valley of Death. The money is specifically designed to finance transformative projects at higher technology readiness levels, or TRLs, specifically TRL4 and above.
Okay, just to make sure the learner's with us here, TRL4 plus essentially means the technology is past the lab bench and it's ready for serious market testing and commercialization, right?
Precisely. TRL 1 to 3 is your basic science, your fundamental research. TRL 4 plus means you have a working prototype that has been validated in a lab environment and is now ready for deployment in a relevant real-world environment. The core insight here is that the RDI fund isn't funding early science. They are targeting that valley of death, that point where research is too advanced for academic funding, but it still lacks the substantial capital required for market scale-up. It's a very deliberate, high-leverage intervention to create market-ready intellectual property.
And beyond just funding projects at TRL 4 plus on, what are the other strategic objectives of the fund?
Well, the scheme explicitly seeks to incentivize private sector RDI. That means they want corporate India to invest heavily, knowing that the government will co-finance the riskiest commercialization phase. It also supports the acquisition of technologies that are deemed critical or of high strategic importance. And it facilitates setting up what they call deep tech fund of funds to ensure capital reaches highly specialized ventures.
The targeted sunrise sectors listed in the RDI mandate, they read like the playbook for the next decade of global technology. This funding is directed squarely at areas like deep technology, including quantum computing, advanced robotics, and space applications. It also heavily covers AI and its application in high-impact sectors like agriculture, health, and education. And it backs the burgeoning digital economy, including specialized areas like digital agriculture.
This really confirms the state's pivot. They are actively disincentivizing the traditional lower-value IT services by creating this massive financial gravity towards cutting-edge innovation. If you're a startup or a GCC in Maharashtra, the financial incentives are all pushing you towards quantum computing or high-level AI deployment rather than, say, standard application maintenance.
So to maximize Maharashtra's chances of accessing this RDI funding, they need a robust local startup ecosystem. How is the state ensuring its homegrown innovators are ready to absorb all this capital?
This is where the state's mHub initiative comes in. mHub is focused on fostering an integrated ecosystem, one that's dedicated to collaboration among corporations, government, investors, mentors, and academia. And they specifically target high-growth IT core areas like animation, visual effects, gaming, and comics, what they call AVGC, alongside other emerging technologies. This ensures these sectors are primed and ready to pitch for that RDI capital.
And they back this integrated ecosystem with concrete financial incentives for early-stage startups to help them overcome the financial hurdles of commercializing their IP. We're talking about reimbursement for things like patents and certification expenses.
The financial support mechanism is highly detailed. Startups can receive reimbursement of up to 2 lakh for domestic patents and up to 10 lakh for international patents. This signals that the state isn't just interested in local innovation. It's interested in creating globally defensible intellectual property.
And it goes beyond just IP protection. They also support quality.
Absolutely. They also offer up to 2 lakh for quality testing and certification. Because if you want your deep tech product to sell globally, you need internationally recognized compliance. The state is subsidizing that entry ticket, and the impact is already quantified. The report we looked at shows 112 startups were reimbursed for patents and 174 were reimbursed for quality testing and certification. That demonstrates a vibrant, active community that is taking advantage of the very programs intended to prepare them for that big RDI fund.
Shifting gears slightly, software needs a hardware base. All this talk of deep tech and AI requires advanced electronics and manufacturing. The national commitment to electronics manufacturing provides a critical context for Maharashtra's IT future. Specifically, the government is preparing for the second phase of the India Semiconductor Mission, or ISM.
And the ISM is backed by a financial outlay of 76,000 crore. This is a gigantic push to establish a domestic semiconductor fabrication and packaging ecosystem.
And to support that, in April of 2025, the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, MITI, also notified the Electronics Components Manufacturing Scheme. That's specifically to deepen the electronics ecosystem across India.
This simultaneous push for high-value deep tech R&D on one hand and robust hardware manufacturing on the other creates a crucial vertically integrated opportunity. If Maharashtra can capture the design and R&D side of the chip industry through its GCCs, and then couple that with local manufacturing capabilities driven by the ISM, they become an integrated powerhouse, not just a services hub.
And the success story leading up to this moment is remarkable. It provides a strong tailwind for this ambition. Electronics production in India has seen a five-fold growth and exports a six-fold growth just over the last decade. A key benchmark here is that smartphone exports alone crossed the monumental euro 2 lakh crore milestone in the 2024-25 fiscal year. That gives Maharashtra's deep tech ambitions a solid, proven, and exporting-focused manufacturing base to rely on.
These policy discussions are, they're high level, but they're anchored by undeniable performance and supported by very real physical infrastructure. We need to look at the performance figures that underpin the entire IT industry in Maharashtra before we dive into the infrastructure that physically moves the people and the goods.
Okay, let's review the export performance because it really highlights the current volume they're trying to shift towards value. Maharashtra is the clear champion here. Software exports made by registered STPI units, that's Software Technology Parks of India, from the state clocked in at a massive 1,079,275.1 crore in 2023-24.
It's just a huge number. And even the subsequent data we have for 2024-25, which only goes up to December, shows exports already exceeding 1,020,752.9 crore. This consistent, overwhelming volume of IT services exports provides the economic engine that funds the state's ambitious pivot toward GCCs and R&D. They are building the new future on the back of immense current success.
And this brings us right to the specific administrative environment of October 2025. Because while these multi-year policies drive the future, consistent, smooth administrative support is essential for day-to-day business operations. The October 2025 compliance updates offer a perfect, if small, micro-example of that continuous governance support.
This specific detail, while it seems minor, is really critical for the learner to understand the operational context. High-volume business in a complex sector like IT requires predictable, responsive regulation. In October 2025, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, the CBIC, extended the due date for furnishing the monthly GST return, Form GSTR-3B, for the month of September.
And it was pushed from October 20th to October 25th, a 5-day extension.
Exactly. A seemingly small 5-day extension. But it highlights the responsiveness of the regulatory environment. In a state with this massive volume of commercial activity, slight delays or adjustments to compliance deadlines are essential to reduce pressure and friction on firms, particularly at the end of a financial quarter. It demonstrates that these administrative tweaks are continuously being made to support the operational realities of this high-volume services sector.
And you cannot sustain this vast economic activity, the GCC expansion, the booming exports, the dense talent pools, without world-class physical infrastructure. Maharashtra's foundation is strong, well-connected via traditional systems, but the state is making major new investments in ultra-modern transport.
Robust infrastructure is the unspoken requirement for the GCC push, especially into those Tier 2 cities. Without reliable power, fiber connectivity, and efficient logistics, those high-security R&D centers just won't move. And the state has recently completed several marquee infrastructure projects that fundamentally improve both urban and regional connectivity.
Let's start with the big one, the Atal Bihari Vajpayee Surinava Sheva Atal Setu, India's longest sea bridge. Why is this project a game changer for the IT sector, which primarily relies on digital goods? How does a sea bridge help a software company?
It's a logistics and efficiency game changer. That's how. While IT relies on digital delivery, the supporting infrastructure, the data centers, the hardware imports for the semiconductor push, the components for electronics manufacturing, all of that requires high-speed physical logistics. The Atoll Setu dramatically cuts the travel time between Mumbai and the mainland. It directly links the financial center to the economic hinterland and the major port areas. This reduction in friction supports the entire economic ecosystem, and that makes the GCC expansion outside of Mumbai much more viable.
And within the massive urban sprawl of Mumbai itself, just alleviating traffic is crucial for the workforce. The opening of the southbound traffic lane of the Mumbai Coastal Road Project South in January 2025 seems like a critical piece of that puzzle.
It is. These infrastructure investments are aimed at reducing the daily commute friction for the high-volume services workforce. If your high-value talent spends hours stuck in traffic, their productivity drops, and eventually that talent becomes disincentivized.
And the sources provide some quantifiable data on how these infrastructure investments are being utilized specifically through the metro systems.
Yes, the improvement in urban mobility is quantifiable and it's impressive. The Mumbai Metro Line 1, that's the Versova-Andheri-Ghatkopar line, recorded a daily average ridership of 5.0 lakh passengers during 2024-25. And on top of that, the newer lines 2A and 7 saw 1.52 lakh passengers daily. These rising figures illustrate a highly utilized, increasing urban connectivity, which is vital for maintaining the efficiency and productivity of that massive IT and services sector workforce.
And looking beyond just passenger transport, the state is also modernizing its ability to move goods and raw materials, which is critical for that concurrent national push in electronics manufacturing. They're implementing the Maharashtra Logistics Policy 2024.
Exactly. And that policy aims to modernize the entire sector and make the state a global logistics hub. This holistic view improving software talent, securing R&D capital, and optimizing the physical movement of people and materials is what makes this roadmap feel genuinely ambitious and coordinated. They are tackling both the intangible and the tangible sides of the digital economy at the same time.
Okay, so let's pull back and try to synthesize everything we've covered. What does this all really mean? It seems like Maharashtra isn't just reacting to the massive IT boom, it's aggressively shaping the next phase of that boom. And it's doing it through hyper-targeted policy creation and massive upfront investment, all of which really solidified in the environment of late 2025.
I think that's right. We've established that the foundation is incredibly robust, a leading GSDP growth rate and unparalleled financial depth. And then layered onto that foundation are these monumental investment commitments, like the National RDI Fund with its 1.0 lakh crore outlay, a fund that specifically targets high TRL4 plus deep tech projects in areas like quantum and robotics. This shows a clear commitment to global innovation leadership, not just service provision.
And this huge investment is paired with strategic skill building happening right at the grassroots. This includes that major initiative in Nanded to deploy the Digital 101 framework across 400 colleges, upskilling 1.5 lakh students for Industry 4.0 roles. And then there's the launch of the Marathi Skill India Digital Hub in Pune, offering 7,000 courses in specialized areas like AI and drone tech, all designed to capitalize on that apprenticeship model's high conversion rate.
And tying all of these threads together is the clear policy mandate embodied by the GCC Policy 2025. This isn't about maintaining the status quo. It's about shifting into higher value R&D intensive roles, aiming for 400,000 new skilled jobs by FY 2030, with a major emphasis on dispersing that growth to Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities like Nagpur and Nashik, using very specific financial incentives.
So the key takeaways are undeniable. The emphasis has clearly shifted from maximizing pure software export volume, though that remains massive at over 1.79 lakh crore. The new focus is on optimizing for high-value intellectual property and output. By linking this GCC growth to new R&D schemes that focus on quantum and AI, the state is positioning itself not merely as the world's most successful back-office provider, but as a future deep tech innovation and commercialization hub.
It is. And this effort to decentralize and capture high-value R&D is what we need to watch most closely over the coming years. The strategic designation of Tier 2 cities like Nagpur and Nashik as growth targets is critical, supported by the concurrent investments in logistics and urban transit systems that we discussed. So, considering the state's proven success in sheer software exports and its new focus on regional inclusion, the final question for you, the listener, is this. How quickly will these Tier 2 cities transition from being secondary markets to becoming genuine centers for highly specialized global R&D, potentially redefining the very definition of an IT hub entirely within the next decade? It's a transition that promises to reshape not just Maharashtra, but India's global tech profile.